My hetero roommate did that with me. Yes, that thing you're thinking about. This is what happened. Stay until the end to hear this story. So make yourself comfortable, and we invite you to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any video. Mauricio's dreams had always been tied to freedom. Since he was a child, he fantasized about the day he would leave the small town where he grew up to launch himself into the world, far from the inquisitive gazes of his neighbors and the rigid expectations of his family. So, when the acceptance letter to the university in another city arrived, he felt that he could finally start writing his own story. The first day on campus was a mix of excitement and nerves. With his suitcase in hand, he headed to the student residence building and climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor. The apartment assigned to him was modest: a small common room, a shared kitchen, and 3 bedrooms. When he opened the door, he was greeted by a guy with tousled hair and an easy smile. "Hey, you must be Mauricio. I'm Ricardo, your roommate. Welcome." Ricardo was exactly what Mauricio needed at that moment: kind, outgoing, and eager to break the ice. Within minutes, they were chatting as if they had known each other all their lives. Mauricio felt lucky. Starting university far from home was intimidating, but with Ricardo as an ally, things seemed easier. Are you enjoying the video so far? If so, leave us a like and subscribe. Let's continue. The routine was established quickly. They both attended classes, shared improvised dinners of instant noodles, and talked late into the night about anything: their families, their plans, their fears. However, everything changed with the arrival of the 3rd roommate. One night, while Mauricio and Ricardo were playing video games in the living room, the door swung open, and a tall guy with dark eyes and a serene expression entered, carrying a couple of backpacks. "Hi, I'm Aldo. I guess we'll be roommates." Aldo had a presence that filled the room. He wasn't necessarily the most outgoing, but there was something about him that captured everyone's attention. Mauricio couldn't help but notice the way he moved, relaxed yet confident, or how his voice resonated deep and calm. During the first few days, Aldo remained reserved. He participated in conversations when necessary, but preferred to stay in his room, studying or listening to music. However, little by little, the dynamic between the 3 began to change. Ricardo, always the life of the party, managed to draw Aldo out of his shell. Soon, the nights were filled with laughter, board games, and movie marathons. It was during those shared moments that Mauricio began to notice something different within himself. At first, he didn't pay much attention to it, but every time Aldo flashed him a smile or shared a private joke, his heart raced more than usual. The attraction was unexpected and uncomfortable. Mauricio had never openly talked about his sexuality, not even with Ricardo, although he suspected he could sense it. He had learned to keep his feelings in check. But with Aldo, it was different. Everything about him drew Mauricio in: his soft laugh, the way he ran his hand through his hair when he was focused, or how he always seemed to know what to say at the right moment. "Hey, since you're watching, subscribe. It would help me a lot. Let's continue." One night after dinner, Aldo and Mauricio were left alone in the living room. Ricardo had gone out to a party, and the atmosphere felt strange, more intimate. Aldo was sitting on the couch with a book in his hands, while Mauricio tried to concentrate on a show, although every now and then his eyes strayed toward him. "What are you reading?" he asked, breaking the silence. Aldo looked up and smiled. "It's a book about philosophy. I don't think you'd be interested. It's a bit dense. Maybe you'll surprise me." Mauricio smiled, although he really had no idea about philosophy. He just wanted to keep the conversation going. Aldo set the book aside and, to Mauricio's surprise, began to explain some concepts to him. His voice was calm, almost hypnotic, and while he spoke, Mauricio realized he was more interested in him than in what he was saying. He didn't know if it was fatigue or the effect of the closeness, but at one point he dared to ask, Have you always been this passionate about these things? Aldo looked at him, amused. I guess so. Why? Am I boring you? Not at all. It's interesting. Mauricio struggled not to sound too nervous. That conversation marked the beginning of something closer between them. Although Aldo remained reserved, he now sought out Mauricio more. They did homework together, talked late into the night, and occasionally shared confidences. For Mauricio, those moments were a gift. However, they were also a torture. Every day, his attraction to Aldo grew, and with it, the fear that his feelings would not be reciprocated. The breaking point came one rainy night. Ricardo was out again, and Mauricio and Aldo were watching a movie on the couch. The sound of the rain against the windows and the warmth of the apartment created a cozy atmosphere. At one point, Mauricio realized that Aldo had fallen asleep next to him. His head was tilted toward him and his breathing was calm. Mauricio felt an irrational urge, a mix of tenderness and desire. Don't forget to subscribe and like for more content like this. Let's continue. He fought against his emotions, reminding himself that he couldn't ruin their friendship. But something inside him told him that maybe there was a chance. Finally, with his heart in his throat, he decided it was time to be honest. The next day, while Aldo was making coffee in the kitchen, Mauricio took a deep breath and approached him. "Do you have a moment?" he asked, trying to stay calm. "Sure. Is everything okay?" Mauricio felt vulnerable, as if he were standing on the edge of a cliff. But he knew he couldn't keep repressing what he felt. "Aldo, I want to tell you something. These months have been amazing, and I really value our friendship, but I feel something more for you." The silence that followed was unbearable. Aldo looked at him, surprised, and for a moment Mauricio thought he had made a terrible mistake. "Mauricio," Aldo began, carefully choosing his words. "You're an incredible person, and I'm very grateful for our friendship, but I don't feel the same. I'm really sorry." The words fell like a bucket of cold water. Mauricio nodded, trying to smile even though inside he felt like he was falling apart. "It's okay. I just wanted to be honest. Thank you for listening." That night, Mauricio locked himself in his room. He cried silently, allowing himself to feel the pain, but also the release of having spoken the truth. Although the rejection hurt, he knew he had done the right thing. Over time, things began to normalize between them. Aldo respected his feelings and never made him feel uncomfortable. Ricardo, although he never knew what had happened, noticed that Mauricio was quieter, more introspective, and tried to cheer him up as always. Mauricio decided to focus on himself after that conversation with Aldo. He knew he couldn't force anyone to feel something that didn't arise naturally, but that didn't take away the feeling of loss. He began to go out more with other friends on campus, explore new activities, and dedicate himself to his studies with greater commitment. Every time he saw Aldo, he felt a pang in his heart, but also a slight pride in having had the courage to speak honestly. Over time, he even came to understand that rejection was not a statement about his personal worth, but simply a difference in feelings. He learned to separate his emotions from his identity and to find peace in the fact that he had been honest with himself and others. This process allowed him not only to heal but also to grow emotionally. For Mauricio, the experience was a turning point. He learned that love is not always reciprocated, but that doesn't make it any less valuable. He also understood that loving someone means accepting their freedom not to feel the same. Over time, his pain transformed into gratitude for the moments shared and hope that one day he would find someone who felt the same way about him. Years later, looking back on that stage of his life, Mauricio had no regrets. Aldo was an important chapter in his story, not for how it ended, but for how it helped him grow. Sometimes the hardest lessons are the ones we need the most, And love, although imperfect, is always an opportunity to discover ourselves. If you liked the video and this content brought you value, leave us a like and share it with your friends so you don't miss it.